Hello, it's Mio and welcome to this paint with me video where I'll be painting a lovebird that is also a jester. So this is the third bird acrylic painting that I've made so far. The first one was a visored duck, the second one was a sheriff pigeon, and now we're gonna make this little parrot jester thing. All of these paintings are made with acrylic paint on old canvases that I have painted over. So this painting I was particularly excited about because I really like these jester hats and I love painting and drawing bells, even though I don't really do that all that often. I just love the shape of them. So I was really excited to get started on this one. It's also a lot more dynamic than the other bird pictures. I feel like this one's a little bit more creative with both the posing and everything pretty much. So I start with the black face. This is like one of these blue and black and gray and white lovebirds. I think they're called lovebirds. I'm not actually 100% sure. This is what came up when I searched for lovebird on Google at least. And in the beginning, my idea was just to make the bird very normal and have very normal lighting. So that's what I'm doing here. But I did want a little bit of pink in on the chest or where the bird is supposed to be white, just to add a little bit more interest, and also because I think that blue and pink look very good together and the bird has some blue parts. But other than that, I didn't really have any plans on making the lighting all that extravagant. It was just supposed to be a pretty normal lighting coming from the front. So I shaded accordingly with some darker blues in the shading areas and some gray to shade the white. So very basic shading. The plan originally was to pick one of the more colorful parrots for this little drawing, but in the end I decided that I wanted a more neutral or more kind of cool palette for this bird, just to make it a little bit more unexpected. Because when I think jester or clown, I think primary colors, but I wanted to do something a little bit more unexpected, and I also have been using a lot of blues and purples and some pinks as well in the other bird paintings. So this will just make this bird fit a little bit more into the series. Here I'm just working on the body and the shading. So I go a little bit back and forth here and there to try to get it as good as possible. And I do also work on the face, but something about the desaturation or the saturation of the strong pink, neon pink in the background makes it so that you can't really see the shading in the face, which is kind of sad because I do add some highlights and some shadows there, and it's actually not 100% black. It is this darker gray color, but you can't really see any of that, and therefore I've kind of just cut the footage of me painting the face and painting the shadows and highlights over there out, because you're not going to see anything anyway. Also, it's also kind of hard to see the feet. The feet are this lighter gray. You can see it on the color palette, how light it is. But when I put it on the canvas, for some reason, it looks a lot darker. And I'm guessing that is because of the saturated pink in the background that is kind of just blowing up the colors and making it look a little bit weird or wrong on camera. But the feet have a lot lighter gray color, so you can kind of see the shading at least a little bit here, which is nice. I add some highlights as a finishing touch so that they look a little bit more glowy, and I also painted the tips of the feet in this kind of pink color, just drag that pink a little bit more in there. And then here I am painting the hat, and I decided on purple on one side and pink on the other side to keep those cool tones in there. So here I have painted it a little bit too dark in my opinion, because I decide later on that I want purple shadows on the bird. So I make the hat a little bit lighter so it doesn't mix in with the shading of the bird itself, and then reshade the whole hat. For the bigger parts of the hat, I am using this bigger brush, and then I switch over to this tiny little brush for the highlights that I'm using right here on screen. And it is a nail brush that I have decided to use as not a nail brush because I really like the little ankle. It's a little bit curved, which I really enjoy. So here the plan was to make the light come from the right side of the canvas, which I do later kind of rethink that idea. And not the lighting itself, but where the light is coming from. So here the lighting is just supposed to come from a light source, a window or whatever. But then I realized that I thought it was a little bit boring and I wanted something a little bit more interesting, so I do change that up in just a little bit. First, I paint a little bit off the pink side of the hat, and it is a very nice bright pink color, which I really like, and it's kind of the same color that that bird has on its chest. A little bit more pink though, a little bit more saturated. So I paint that on, and then I had the idea of what I wanted to do with the light source. And the idea is that the bells that are on the hat are supposed to be glowing. So therefore I went with a watered down yellow color and I painted on the lightest areas, or the areas that are kind of turning towards a bell. So that's also why I added a little bit of a white color on the back wing, because you can see a half a bell over there that will be glowing later. And then I turn my attention to the beak. Here you can also see that I have added some more of that yellow color on the purple side of the hat, but I didn't really, or I did film that, but it was out of the camera. You couldn't see it because I zoomed in with the camera. So I tried to not let the beak be too close of a color to the hat, because I didn't want all the same colors in there. So I made it a little bit darker than it is in my reference photo to kind of make it stand out a little bit more and not be too similar. These birds also have this white line on top of their beak, or at least in my reference photo, so I hope that is in all the birds. And then also white around the eyes. So I put that in there. And I also love that touch of this bird, because that means that the eye is not gonna blend in with the face color, which I love. Here's a little bit of a highlight on the beak. And then after that, I decide to paint the eyeball, which you'll see in just a second. Yeah, here's the eyeball. So for the eyeball, I just go in with straight black in the beginning, but then I realized that I actually wanted a little bit of a eye color in there as well. I don't really know if the birds have an eye color or if it's just black, but I wanted a little bit of a blue in there. And you can't really see it again because of the camera, or I don't really know what it is, but there is a little bit more shading in there. You just can't see it. Here I am starting to paint the pink side of the hat. And this one was a journey for me. It was a roller coaster, because I didn't really know what colors I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be too close to the beak, but I also didn't want too much purple in there, because there's already a lot of purple in this drawing, and I didn't want the right side and the left side of the hat to blend too much together. So I started with this slightly darker pink, but not the beak color. And then I went in with the purple. And then I add some more highlights before I realized that I just do not like this new purple color. So I do go over that a little bit later on with a darker pink color. So a little bit back and forth here. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Here is the... No, here I go in with an even darker purple actually before I do the pink thing, because I thought maybe that would work. But here you can see that it looks way too similar to the other side of the hat. So here's the darker color, which sadly does look a little bit too similar to the beak color, but I think it looks better than the alternative. So I decided to just go for it like this. It still has a little bit of purple in there, which fixed it a little bit, but yeah, that's just how it's gonna roll. Then of course I gotta add my yellow wash. So it's just a watered down yellow color that I can put over the whites, and that it will make this kind of a glow effect, which I really enjoy. So I did that also to the beak. Then I add some little extra highlights on the hat, which I really think brings it all together. It looks a lot better with these small highlights. And then I suddenly remembered that the bird has its wing out, and I just hadn't painted it because I forgot about it completely. So here you can see me coloring that in and making it look, or trying to make it look like a wing. Here I am painting the bells, so I started with a very light color, and then I'm using my tiny little brush to add where the little line across the bell is, and then I shade the bells, And sadly, my phone was actually dying at this moment and I didn't feel like stopping the process to charge it. So I do not have as much footage as I probably could have had. So you can see me, yeah, you can see a little jump here, right? And suddenly the bells are completely finished. And here I'm working on the ball. So for the ball, I decided on this nice turquoise color. And the reason for that is that I didn't feel like blue would fit because the whole bird is blue. I felt like purple could work, but I also have added some purple for the shadows of the bird and it is on the hat, so it was too similar to the blue. And then I didn't want to use pink, and yellow would have just looked silly. So I decided on turquoise because of that, but I did feel like it didn't fit the bird too well. So I also decided to add a tiny little stripe of purple in the middle of it, and that would also make the ball look a little bit more circusy, or like it's from a jester, you know, a little bit more fun, a little bit more unique. The eye of the bird, of course, needs a little bit of eye shine. And then here I've suddenly painted the whole background because I didn't get footage of that. Which turned out to be turquoise. There was a lot of failing at the background. I wasn't sure what color I should make it, but I think this turquoise worked out very nicely, or this dark kind of almost greenish turquoise. And then here I am making the bells shine. So this is again just a watery yellow color that I put over the lighter areas to make this kind of shiny effect, which I love. I think it turned out really good. And I'm actually really happy with it. I also don't think I have a footage of the floor being painted, but I decided on a purple color for that. So this is pretty much the finished process. Here is a little final look. And yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.